And that's, you hear the 350, don't get mad at me when it comes back at 225. So, and this is all, and this is just what we can get. If right away, if someone's willing to pay 250, do you want to start collecting 250 right away, or do you want to wait 6 months and hold out for the 350? That might not come or might come, you know. So that's why we don't want these houses to sit empty, especially on something that's nicer on the higher end. That's going to be one of the nicer homes that we ever sell at $38,000. So we don't want that sitting empty.
That's our mansion. What we sell, the $38,000 is the mansion. We don't get mansions, okay? So you grab it, Jim.
Well, just as they're asking, I mean, 2 to 3 months from now, these season a little, and Dale's already told Eric has told us you probably have a program for buying the notes, so you can move right into that cashing if you want.
Yeah. So you have what's 80% of 36,000?
I can't wait till that's there.
That's 70.
You people who buy these?
Yeah. So you sell that note for 29 grand roughly, 28 grand, and you've, as Eric said earlier, you've gotten your $400 a month for the next 3 or 4 months, right? And then you get 29 grand for the note.
$29,061.60.
And that's if we sell it at a 20% discount. So, you know, and then multiply that times 4.
I want you to realize that the more educated you are. I remember that I had a commercial that one of the two companies said, the best consumer, an educated consumer is our best customer. And if you right now go try to sell a note like this, no seasoning, no nothing, you'll be absolutely lucky. You're luckiest start if you can sell it at 50% of the face value. 50% of the face value, you'll be more like in the 30 to 40%. And if you let us sell it, we're selling it basically net at about 70% of the face value with no seasoning, nothing.
That's the goal.
This is unheard of. Yep. In this category of properties, there's a guy with a credit score of 300. Who would touch him? Only our investors, because they understand a note is as good as the people behind it. We're servicing them and we're creating everything. So it's not a nameless, faceless bank that's doing this thing. If somebody's behind, it's Teresa that's calling. They know her. And it's very hard to be, and she's been very nice to them. It's very hard for people not to be nice to somebody who's always been nice to you. So these are, and so even if they fall behind, she's still nice to them. She's not going a bank and sending nasty, being nasty with her. We want to work with you. And they reciprocate on these things. So these are very, very different. This is why this is not, I had to completely rethink my real estate education in order to get into this. Because all the gurus, things that I taught that, on these properties, now, as Eric was saying, that this is a class. And this is, how many of you have read the book called The Blue Ocean? And you should, the red ocean, blue ocean. Red ocean is where the shark-infested water. A blue ocean is there's no competition. You create. So everybody's fighting for the nice properties that are 75,000 on up and 100,000. And because they say, oh, these junker properties, these are the bottom barrel. And they're making over there 12%, 8%. And right below, under their nose, we're just going in and carving out as many as we can with double, triple, quadruple returns. And we cannot even mention some of the returns here because we cannot get, this is never ever, it's a guarantee. Right now our target is to get north of 20%. That's all we can say. You may get 40, you may get 10. But is 10% a pretty good return in any day of the week? The question you ask is, what is your money making now? It's on a CD. It's on a, if it's in a saving, it's less than 1%. So don't get greedy. Just know that this is what the program is. So go to the next one. Any questions on this pool?
Essentially, so as far as from the cash flow standpoint, let's say you got all those things occupied. It's not like we're probably talking about $2,000 approximately as far as your income, roughly. I mean, you got 650 now. at Whistlemore, you 1500 to 2000, so you're talking about probably 48 months then to break even on that.
Yeah.
All right. So now
that's 25% then on it. So.
I want you to compare it. If you buy a $100,000 property, a regular standard in Florida, let's say I'm in Florida. If I buy a $100,000 property, the rent is going to be about $800. So for $100,000, you get $800 rent. That's gross. Then you start all the fees and everything that goes down. And here, for the same $100,000, you're doubling. Percentage-wise, that's unbelievable. So understand, the more you know, the more you've actually done it, the more amazing this is from that perspective. The package B.
So these are, here's another one. We've got an offer out on this one as well.
Why are you giving so much away, Garland?
Here's our occupied or IPP. It's about almost identical to the previous one. So you're at 19,515, and then the ROI is not quite as good, but the principal balance is about the same. And then the monthly payment is pretty much the same. So only the major difference here being the payments remaining. So this one's about 6 years longer. So then we have the vacant properties. This is a condo in South Florida that we just picked up. Some of you may have seen that on the Aquin list from April's awards, if you're already in the winner's circle. And then this Kansas City one there. And that one, I'm pretty sure we've got an offer on it, and I think maybe an application out or a down payment. I'm not sure. But anyway, so these next few are priced around $50,000. But for here, it's basically half the price as the other one, but you're getting the same amount of immediate income right now. So you're getting.
Well, on those two properties, what type of rent do you think you can get on those vacant ones?
You know, if we generate a $24,000 sale, something like that, with $1,000 down, we're probably looking at $250 a month.
What drives our how do we come up with a value for what we sell the house for? Is based on what they can afford monthly. It's crazy enough. So if you could go to BrettWhistle.com, there's an amortization. So it's kind of a backward calculator that helps you do the loan. So you put in 1,000 down or 500 down, 360 months. If you take this number, payment, let's say the payment, it's $300, backed up over 30 years at 12% interest, and it gives you the sale price. And usually that's right up there with Zillow. And that's just a starting point. So if we know what the rents are, you want to sell these to the end buyer for a couple $100 less than the going rent rate, sometimes half. Because we don't want them defaulting. We don't want them to have any reason to leave that house, ever. So we don't have a default rate to speak of because it's cheaper to fix the plumbing or do whatever needs to be done than leave and go find an apartment. And if they get behind, it's a lot easier to work it out with them because, again, they can work it out with us cheaper than they can go and put a first-last deposit on an apartment. So that's why, again, we leave so much room in there for the end buyer because we don't want that property back, right? We want it performing. So that's how we come up with the payment and what we're actually selling a house for. So often, sometimes the lower your wholesale, almost the higher the return in a sense because, for example, like we use Detroit or Cleveland in Ohio. We may be in there for less, for 8,000.
I just calculated this. So if and what Ken is saying is we work backwards. We start with the monthly payment. What makes sense in regards to rent? What gets you the right return? So I just did the calculation to get, if I get $1,500 down and I want a 30% return, what do you think the monthly payment on that is going to be over 20 years? It's $275. So, I mean, who can't do that for a condo in the Miami area?
Most women wonder, $250 seems really low.
It is, but
you want to come to a couple hundred dollars cheaper because keeping the apartment, that like $450 would be the going rates for an apartment.
It is, but now you've got HOA fees.
Well, not in South Florida.
So you might have $300. You might have more. You may have $300 in HOA.
Yeah.
Now you're at $5. Then you got insurance and taxes. And so you start piling all that up, you got to keep that all real, because that's really what it's costing them. So they're going to be.
So out of all three, you're probably talking about maybe $900 would be your total income for all three, and you forfeit the top one and figure the two that depreciate the others. So $900 to $1,000 a month probably.
Yeah, like this, I'm gonna put $350 a month on our sign for this one, and be happy with $275. This one, I'm gonna do, you know, maybe $375 and be happy with $325. So if you add those, that's.
It's still it's right around $1,000.
So you're about $1,000.
$1,000, so you're talking about 55 months.
So for that condo, how do you encounter that agility? So you put the 375. How much you pay? Agility? Who pays that?
Well, we don't even know that there is a condo. We
don't-
just bought this, but
The owner
regardless,
pays that stuff.
that's the end buyer's responsibility.
Yeah, no.
They're responsible for taxes, insurance, COA or HOA, whatever's there. That's their responsibility. We escrow that and make sure that it gets paid.
And how about the repair? So do you know what the repair cost?
No, we don't, and we don't care because
It
who
doesn't matter.
does all the repairs?
They do.
And
The buyer
This
does.
is guys. No matter how many times I've shared with you, this needs to set in that these properties. You're thinking, oh my God, this $8,000 property probably needs $28,000 worth of work. Let it take $28,000 worth of work. If it does take 28, it's the seller's skin in the game. I'm sorry, the buyer's skin in the game. If the buyer starts paying, and typically the buyer who buys our house, do you think they hire a contractor or they do the work?
They do.
They do the work. So to you and me, it's going to cost $28,000. For them, it's $8,000 worth of material. That they probably got, their contractor, their worker, they probably got that from the other job.
And a 12-pack of beer for their cousin on the weekend.
So, and then he does it on the weekend. So if he or she is putting the hot water heater and everything is making nice, do they have more incentive to make the payment now?
Yes.
This is one of those rare cases, absolute rare cases, that should we ever have the occasion of taking the property back, the property is in much better shape than we ever gave it to them.
Now, you might be shocked to hear me say, your property is not going to get any worse. I mean, no, that sounds crazy. I'm trying to sell you a house, and I'm telling you it can't get any worse than that. But that's what we've been doing for 8 years. All it takes is one person to buy the house, right, and say it's worth that. And that's my job, is to find that one person, and my asset managers. And we do that all day, every day, and we've done that for years, year in and year out. And all it does is take one. And so every screw that they put in, every door that they straighten out, every mirror that they install, and everything only improves the value of your house. They're doing it for you. And that's an additional down payment, additional work that they've put in that, like Roger said, they're not going to default.
It's harder to do that. Jim.
Yeah, I just keep hearing the kind of owner financing of people. You know, if you're wondering whether people will buy on owner financing, you haven't done one, just run an ad. Run one ad in your local, probably Craigslist. I don't know how to really use it.
All we do is Craigslist. All we do is Craigslist. Rent to own.
Craigslist.
No credit, bad credit, no problem.
Yeah, put something like that in and watch. You'll have 80 phone calls within about 10 days or less.
Guys,
And over the month, you'll have about 150 calls.
We are
The largest market of buyers is.
We are dealing
is
with a
this.
segment of society that society has written off.
Yep.
That they have no choices. So when they see you now as their banker is the only hope that they have of ever becoming a homeowner, because do we care they're an ex-convict? No. We care for one thing, and one thing only, is do they have the income to pay the payment? And we don't even pull their credit. To save them money, we could, but we tell them to go to the website where they can pull their web credit for free. So they pull their credit and send it to us, so we save them. So we're not trying to know how some apartment, they make money on application fee, because they know they have, there's all of those things, they're gone, and this is a group of people that they cannot come into the mainstream.
They want to know three things: how much down, how much per month, and their third question they'll ask now, since we're dealing with them, maybe not, but if you're doing it, they'll ask you about 8 times or more before you close the deal, you'll really sell to me? You're really going to sell to me?
Are you not going to back out?
I just don't believe it. Yeah. Nobody else will sell it.
One thing I want to clarify, we do evaluate the property. We go to that property, we know the condition, we take that into account. So when we go there, we may think, okay, this is going to go for $50,000, but we get there and realize it needs a roof, or it needs some plumbing work, or it needs this or that, whatever. We take all that into account. So these payments, when we do develop them, they have all that taken into account. So we might even, I mean, I've bought houses that were in the strip, totally, no plumbing, no electrical, no AC heating, nothing. I mean, but great, what I call great bones, you know? And they always laugh at me because they all think every house is my best house, you know? Because I see it, you know? But they see it too. So I've even had one that was just burned inside out, and just that beautiful outside, walked in, and it had a fire that just burned everything up. It was just like, and then they come in and framed everything again. It was all new, ready to just kind of redo. And so we gave them, okay, tell you what, we're going to get a down payment, and we're going to give you 6 months. Now, what did I have into that house? About $250. So they took 6 months, fixed everything, and then started paying payments. We held them accountable. We do this all the time. So we do know the condition, and we take that into account when we set the financing up. One other thing is, last show, we sold a pool of 3 in a package. I think it was a package B. It had an Oklahoma property in Muskogee, Oklahoma. The guy bought it, and then he came and visited in Tampa, came to the office and said, I want to see if you guys are really here. So he comes to Tampa from Orlando.